What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the aisle. This is episode 4. I hope that's right. If not, forgive me. I think it's 4.
Not 4, it's 5.
It's 4 or 5 or 7. I don't know. It's somewhere in there. I am your host, Dewan Knight. This is my co-host, Mr. Blake. Today we have a strange fellow sitting here in the middle with us.
Strange.
Yes, strange. He's a strange fellow. Strange is not a bad thing. If you remember Dr. Strange.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, I see what you're saying.
He's an amazing guy. Yes, very deep.
Yeah.
And it's strange to other people. So it's a compliment.
Oh, okay,
Right.
thanks. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Mr. Jeremiah Carlton,
That is me.
welcome, sir.
Thanks.
It is an honor to have you with us. He looks like he's swollen and 300 pounds of muscle, but
Because he is.
we actually added a muscle effect to the
Yeah.
camera. So,
Yeah.
So those
Pumping
neck
that
muscles,
iron.
You see those neck
Yeah.
muscles right now?
yes. So, man, introduce yourself to us. To
Yeah.
the people.
To the people.
To the people.
Yeah, the peoples out there. My name is Jeremiah Carlton. So these guys have watched me grow up in the
Unfortunately.
church.
Man,
well,
wait.
it's been great. Yes.
Yeah, in the church. Yeah, at that
Yes,
point.
I don't know, they're probably about 50, 60. And I'm
Whoa,
just way
hang
off.
on.
I'm 75.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, so I am from Eagleville, Tennessee. I grew up there. And currently now, after going through high school and middle school with these guys as my youth leaders, I'm over at Trevecca, and I am a chaplain over there pursuing pastoral ministry and studying that. And also get to help out with some discipleship group stuff. But
Amazing.
Awesome.
yeah, it's been growing me a lot. It's been a good experience. I enjoy it.
So, being a chaplain, what are your duties with that?
Well, as a chaplain, I mean, first thing, it's like, I just want to be available to
Right.
people, but, like, do I have many people come to me? Not that much. But still, I really do enjoy getting to put on, like, chapels.
Yeah.
I get to preach at a few of those, like, 2 a semester. And then we also have, like, a service project in the semester. We have one coming up called People Loving Nashville. And it's with homelessness ministry and,
Nice.
like, just getting students out there getting involved. So I really do enjoy that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now, do y'all work with anyone with the homeless ministry, like Salvation Army or anything of that nature?
I think that's just the name of the ministry, the People Loving Nashville.
Gotcha.
Type of deal. Like, we
Okay.
work with them. We just go to the
Gotcha.
class.
I've never heard of them.
Yeah.
They're based in Nashville?
Mhm.
Interesting.
I didn't hear of them either until
Yeah,
probably a
it's
month
like-
or so ago.
But now that Jeremiah's in the picture, you're going to hear all about it.
Yes.
But
We're
we're
going
You're
to
going
get the
to
t-shirt.
see, you're going to
go out there and serve.
Get the merch.
Here's the merch. Homeless merch. Yeah, you got it.
People loving people.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But yeah.
That's awesome. So what else you got going on?
I've been preaching here and there a few times.
Yep.
That's been a new form of life, new season, kind of. It's like I spend this time kind of preparing for when I am going to preach, and then it's like out of nowhere, it's like, okay, you're preaching like 2 times this week,
Right.
for the next few weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think I hit like a 4 in 2 weeks a few weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, dude,
Yeah, that's
I recycled a sermon. I used it like 2
For
days,
sure.
2 days in a row.
sure.
Hey, listen, we've been using the Bible since something
Yeah.
AD. I think it's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Uh-huh.
Pastors out here recycling all the time,
Mm.
but the word is living and active, so it's
Yes,
gonna be
it
be
is.
different every
Absolutely.
time.
Absolutely.
I do love though that it's different. Like sometimes it's really funny, sometimes it's really good. Like I preached. I was telling Nick about this a little bit. I preached at this other AG church in Murfreesboro. I forget the name of it, but it's
Probably, wife something
I think it's Assembly something.
Oh.
Maybe First Assembly.
maybe.
I have no idea.
Or but it's with Pastor Tim. I got to know him. at
Oh, Tim
camp.
Davis. Yeah,
Tim
I don't know.
Davis.
I don't know the name of the church. I don't know who you're talking about.
Yeah. But it was so
Mark
funny
Davis's.
because I had to lead worship, and
Oh, wow.
I'm not a singer, dude. Like I don't play the
I mean, you
instruments.
had a couple of years in like vocal ensemble. You know, it's fine.
He was like,
That's awesome. Is this recorded somewhere?
luckily no.
Oh,
Well, hang on. The
That's
Davises had a
unfortunate.
YouTube channel, so there's
Oh,
We're
they
gonna check
do.
there's a couple. There's a couple.
we're gonna find that. We're gonna find
So we're-
But he texted me. He was like, "Hey, can you like get somebody to lead worship, or you lead out the hymnal or something like that?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll see." I couldn't get anyone to lead worship for that Sunday, but I get there, bro, and they just, they mic me up, and I kid you not, I just karaoke'd worship. They had a little screen at the front, and I stood in the pulpit on the stage, and I was like, "Oh,
Let's go.
dude."
That is amazing.
Smart plug. This
Yeah.
is why you should always be practicing your craft when you're in fine arts, because he was totally prepared for that moment. I can tell y'all.
I was like, dude, if this ain't ministry, I don't know what
Yeah, it
is.
is.
Like, he was just like, "You're leading worship," and I was like,
Oh,
"Okay."
It's fine. It's fine. I've never done this before.
Mhm.
That's fine.
But then, like,
So funny.
I preached like a practically the same sermon with little tweaks on like the Monday
Yeah.
or right after that, and it was like amazing. God moving. It's like you never know what it's gonna be like. There's maybe like 10 people on that Sunday. I think nobody was under the age of 50 or 60 except for like one baby.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
One baby.
And the baby has no idea what you're talking about. Baby's
Right.
like, what?
He's not judging you.
What did he say?
Yeah. But I enjoy it each time because it definitely not only like is it a passion of mine to bring the word, of course, but it's good experience.
Oh,
Like
yes.
it really is.
Yeah.
I get more and more comfortable on stage each time I do it.
It helps you refine your craft.
Yes.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Like I think about when I first started doing the men's group years ago, it was just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how we're going to do this. We're just going to make up some stuff. And if it sucks, we won't do that again. And if it's good, let's keep doing that and let's add on to it. So it's been a lot of like, okay, let's try this, let's try that. That didn't work. Like the biggest thing, like, man, don't be afraid to fail.
Yeah.
Like,
for real.
It's okay. Like nobody's gonna die. The world's not gonna stop if you mess up, if you do it wrong. You're like, okay, that didn't work.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that again. And I'm going to
Or if we are,
I'm gonna
we
find
do it better
this
than last
pastor
time.
and let him know, please don't ask Jeremiah to lead worship again.
Make only mistakes if you mess up. Keep messing up.
Dude, I didn't even know one of the songs.
Oh,
I just was like,
Was it a hymnal song?
kind of. I mean, I think it was,
pretty
but
much.
they would play like YouTube tracks,
Oh, nice.
and yeah, I didn't know one of them, so I'm just like learning the words as we went. And at that point,
Nice.
it's like, why am I gonna stress?
Yeah.
Like I'm
Oh,
just
absolutely.
gonna whatever happens.
Yeah.
We're here to worship.
We're
It
here
doesn't
to-
gotta be pretty.
No.
But
Man, I wish I was more prepared for this conversation because
I wish there was videos. I want to see this in action.
no,
Yes, that's what I'm missing.
I had a few friends who were like, "Oh, I wish I could have seen that so bad." I'm like,
that would have been.
I'm so glad you
amazing.
weren't there.
Like a little bead of sweat just kind of running down.
Like,
I hope this is okay. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, can't be afraid to fail.
No, you cannot be. You cannot be. Listen, you think about the disciples and how many times they failed. And Jesus was like, here we go again. Let's sit down. Let's go over this again,
Same
guys.
thing again.
Let's talk about it again.
Yeah.
You can't treat people this way. You can't do that. You can't walk around with doubt. You can't do this,
Yeah.
So it's
I think having a
it's
healthy
process.
fear is good, though. We've been talking in our life group about like having the healthy fear of God. And I really feel like me worship leading, I don't feel like I'm a worship leader because it's not what I was called to do, but I feel like I have a certain talent for it, kind of like that story with the 10 talents. Like I feel like I have the talent. I'm going to use it. I'm going to grow it. So I've been singing in church for a while, but I still will get super, super nervous. Like, every Sunday, does not matter. It doesn't matter how long I've been doing it. Like I still get this like nervousness.
Yeah.
But when I sing, I just know that I'm in the throne room with him, and it's not. If I'm thinking about anything else, that's what's going to get me to be like an unhealthy nervous, to where I don't worship like I should in spirit and truth, because I'm always in my head thinking about, does this sound right? Now at the end of service, though, I deleted my Facebook account, so I wouldn't do this anymore. But because I would pick myself apart, I listened to the live stream. I'm like, bro, you sound terrible.
It was terrible.
Trash. We went out to eat, and I literally took Danielle's phone and took it to listen back to it. She's like, why don't you have your phone? I'm like, I don't have Facebook, so I can't do this. But I can take your phone and do it. But
I've blocked Facebook forever.
That's why I got rid of it, because I'm like, I need to stop doing that to myself.
Yeah.
It's like it helps me feel better or something. I don't know, beating myself up. But I think a healthy fear is good to have. But
I'm critical to my own sermons.
We out here.
I go back and watch them all the way through, and sometimes I'm like, man, I'm preaching to myself right now.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Like I go back and watch, I'm like, I needed this word, and it doesn't hit you while you're preaching it.
Like,
But then other times I'm like, gosh, you're so weird.
Why did you say that? Why did you make that
Be
joke? No one
quiet,
laughed.
Like, get off the stage, man.
Man.
Can we delete that part?
Yes.
Somebody edit that out.
Please.
Right. Or those notes that you didn't hit whenever I'm like listening back to it, I'm like, whoa, why I didn't sing that? But in the moment, I don't remember ever singing that note. I'm just like, I'm in there. So it's like, it's fine.
There was this.
I am Brian McKnight.
The gospel Brian McKnight.
Yes.
Williams now.
There was this one time, I think it one of the first sermons I preached at Trevecca, and I had like a head mic. And afterwards, when I came down and we went back into worship, I guess they didn't mute my mic all the way.
Yikes.
Oh no.
So people could still hear me worshiping in the background. Like when I'm listening back, you could be like, you'd hear like, yes, Lord. Like, thank you, Jesus.
Thank you, Jesus, for this day.
Like over the head
Thank you,
speakers.
God.
And I was like, I'd be like, Jesus.
Like, are the angels here? Where's
Oh
that
my
voice?
gosh.
Where's that voice?
Oh, I think I really just did that this Sunday. Evan was trying to crack a joke, and I was like, I'm just going to turn you off. He was like, and the whole church heard that. I was like, oh well.
Whoops.
Sorry.
We should do that with Bryce on Sundays. Just
You
hear his worship on like the
Just ease his mic on.
undertones.
You hear like his arms going back and forth against the mic.
Yes.
Come on,
They're
bro.
rubbing his beard.
Yeah.
Like, what's that static? I don't know.
Change
It's
the
natural.
frequency.
It's natural. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
That's so
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, what's on your heart? What's on your mind for today, man? What are we
Preach this,
getting into?
Jeremiah.
So last Thursday, I preached on this at Trevecca, and I feel like a lot of times when I'm coming up with a sermon topic, it's usually something that I need for myself.
Absolutely.
That I'm just like, all right, I've been struggling like with this and these things, and I kind of go to God. I'm like, I need your help.
Yep.
I need your help, and I do think a lot of times, especially in the scenario of me preaching to other students, it's like a lot of us are going through the same things.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of seeking the Lord on that, and then being able to share that with people, I think has just been really good. But practically, just the main idea, if I could put it into words, in just a few short words, is just look up. And that came from me, just being in this time of kind of struggling, and like a lot's going on, and it's a lot of chaos.
Right.
And there's a lot of mundane and small things that I think can really take a hard hit towards you just in your regular life, more than you
Expect.
expect or even know. But so I'd just be walking to class or walking from class or after my day's over, and I would just take a few moments or a minute or two to stop, or even while I'm going, but kind of being stopped in my posture of just my mind and my heart, and just look up. And you see clouds in the sky and stuff when you look up. And I think that was also partly based off of what we were talking about in our philosophy class, philosophy and theology that I'm taking right now. And I mean, just thinking in a philosophical manner, I was just kind of in that headspace, and I'm just like, with all of God's creation, if there was something that we're used to now that was non-existent, we probably wouldn't think twice about it.
Yeah. Like,
for example, if there was another world completely like ours, but they didn't have any clouds, like explaining clouds to someone would be the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
There's
never
these
experienced
giant, like, big white balls in the sky.
Yes.
Marshmallows.
Candy.
And sometimes they look like a dog, sometimes they look like a dragon.
Yeah.
Some of those are like feathers, and those are like serious clouds.
And then every now and then they drop buckets and buckets of water all on top of you.
Absolutely.
And all of that to say that it's just like there's a very specific and uniqueness to God's creation.
Mm-hmm.
So taking that moment of looking up at it, and it's just a reminder to me that He is bigger, and that the smallest things are significant, whether that be your own personal concerns in life or stresses,
right,
or just yourself. that you are small in this massive universe, but that you have importance, and that in the moment that you are living in is very divine and significant.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because I thought about this too, and it's just like, with a whole span of time, if you think about it in just kind of a linear way, there's like, the past, and then there's the future, and then you're here in the middle at the present.
Yeah.
But something that I would hear people say at like camp is just like, a divine moment. And the way I interpreted that is, even though God has set out the future, and he knows, and he has a plan for what is good for us, we're living in the farthest point in history right now.
Oh yeah.
Tomorrow hasn't happened yet. So many things have happened behind us, but the moment that we're in is the only moment that there is.
Yeah.
And so that's just a really significant thing that's been changing the way I perceive life a little bit lately.
Yeah.
But kind of continuing off the looking up, I don't know if y'all would agree with this, but it's like a lot of our life, I feel like, is very downward focused. Whether we're looking at our phones, or we're looking just at the ground, or just even our interactions and all of our problems are at this kind of base level.
Yes.
Yep. And then there's so much more that God sees.
Yep.
But what's in front of us is everything.
Yeah. And I would even say along those lines, even what God sees, but the things that God would like to show us. If we take the time, like you're saying, to look up, to look at him, to make space in our lives and in our hearts, right? And in our schedules, to say, you know what, God, show me something that I haven't seen before. Help me experience you in a way I've never experienced you before. Like those are the things that we're after. I think about Paul, like he's telling these people, like, I want to be, this, and I want to be with God, and I want to be, accepted, and all of these things. But then he says, I've not yet obtained these things. And that's kind of where I'm at. Just like, man, I want to see God's glory. I want to be in this space where, man, it's just me and him on a regular basis, but I have not yet obtained these things.
Yeah.
I'm pursuing after them. But like you said, a lot of time we're looking down, we're looking at ourselves in a selfish manner, like, well, I need to worry about me.
Yeah.
And I understand there is a healthy measure of that, right? There's self-care, there's all those buzzwords that they like to use, but it also is very dangerous because it becomes selfish.
Yeah.
It becomes about what I can achieve, what's good for me, all of those things, instead of finding this balance of, man, sometimes I've got to sacrifice what's good for me.
Yeah.
So other people can have something better. Right. And obviously it starts with your family, but then it extends out from there, like your community, your church family, all those different things. Like sometimes they need Dewan to sacrifice what Dewan wants so that they can reach the next level of whatever they're after. And I think that goes with that, man. Am I looking downward and only worried about my steps, right? Or am I looking up and looking out and like, man, where's Blake going? Can I help Blake get there? Right? Where are you going? What can I help you get there? Instead of just being concerned about my journey. So I like that. Just thinking about what are we looking at?
Yeah.
And focusing on you, I think, can be so exhausting sometimes. You need to know where your energy source is drawn from. Like creation, all that God's created, clouds, plants, and all that kind of stuff, you can draw inspiration from those things only for a moment, right? You can that only works with the world is just a mirror image of what heaven is. You have to look to the Creator at some point to draw your energy from that. So it's like we are His creation, but we can't just take our inspiration from that. We were created by Him, and we're supposed to have a relationship with the Creator. You can't do that unless you look up.
Yeah.
I think what's crazy too is our struggle of looking down and being so focused on what's in front of us, and just the way that life is now. I think it's very different from how things were in the past.
Yeah.
I mean, the early church was very focused on astronomy in a lot of ways, and there was a lot of drama between them, thinking about like, oh, the sun revolves around the earth and stuff like that. But just at that time, I just think about how these people, without technology in the ways that we have, and just a lot of things, really, they spent a lot of their time, probably a lot more than we do, looking up and wondering about their purpose, about God, about creation. I mean, that did sow the seeds for a lot of philosophy and theology that we have today, of just them being focused on the bigger things,
and asking those questions. Like, what does this mean, and why is this here, and why am I here?
It's really healthy for us to ask those questions. Also, on the flip side of that, I think there is the caution that we have to have of just looking down, and with that, I guess the point I'm getting to is like, well, we're so focused. Actually, I think there's a statistic that I used in the sermon that I preached the other day. It was the National Science Foundation. They said 80% of our thoughts are negative and 95% of our thoughts are repetitive. Think about how much of that is like filling your day. That's a lot. That's a lot of negative thoughts. And it'll eat away at you. Not only your mind and your emotions, but like your spirit.
And it's such a rapid pace too. Like your synapses in your brain, they fire off consistently. So if you think about 80% of those thoughts, just doing that all day, it's like, God, why do I feel so terrible?
For real.
It's a war, about your thinking. It's a war. And like, for me, the more I am attempting to let God guide my life and take me to places that I don't really feel comfortable in, this space being one of those, it also makes those voices ring that much louder. It's like, man, I really am not comfortable doing this, but I'm going to do it because you said so. But then all those voices are like, man, you're not good enough for this. You suck at this. Nobody cares, blah, blah, blah. And so you get this feeling of, maybe I should just stay out of the way. And that's what the enemy wants. He wants to paralyze us. He wants us to stop doing the things that God is pushing us towards.
He wants you to think you're the only one.
Absolutely. And so it stunts our growth as individuals, but even on the grander scale, it stunts our growth as a church, as the Big C church, because we have so many of us that are paralyzed and have stopped moving. And it's all for various reasons, whether it's those internal voices, whether it's because, like we were just talking about, people looking down. Maybe people aren't looking up enough to see, like, man, this guy is so close to landing on something amazing. How can I help him get there? But they're so focused on what they're doing in that moment in their space that they don't make room to help that other guy get over the hump. And sometimes it's a long-term commitment. Sometimes it's just a short-term thing. Like, there's guys that I've come across, man, it's like, man, we've kicked it for 3 months, and that was the thing they needed to go and get back on track, right? And then there's some guys, man, it's been 2 years, and I'm like, bro, you got gas in the engine? Like, are you gonna start this car? Are you gonna get going again? Right? So it's different for everybody, and we've got to be willing to say, you know what, I will make time for you, and I will be here until we figure this thing out. A lot of times we give up on people, like, oh, well, they're not going to get there, and they're not going to figure it out, and blah, 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 blah. And they keep making the same mistakes and all those things. And so we abandon helping them walk their journey, and we go back to looking down at just our thing and what we're doing. So it stems in a lot of directions. It really does.
You had said something that some people will like take themselves out of the way, and that really like stuck out to me, because it's like, you can do that and convince yourself that you don't want to be in anybody's way, you don't want to inconvenience anyone, and cover that and call it humility. I think we really get tripped up right there, to where it's like, being humble doesn't mean that you're just like, that you detach. Which I think the enemy always has something that's almost similar to what God has, so it kind of seems that like, oh yeah, this is good. Like, people will take themselves out and they'll disengage and detach from people, and say, "Oh, I'm just going to be humble. I just want to give them their space."
Yeah.
But that's not what God's called you to in that moment. It may not be. There are times to detach that are healthy, but you have to know the difference. I feel like so.
Because if you're detaching and God hasn't told you to, it's simply disobedience.
Right.
And
It doesn't seem that way.
It doesn't seem that way.
The enemy, he can like just turn the tuning dial. The enemy doesn't need the seeking dial. He needs the tune dial. It's just a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, this might be good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the enemy has no game plan.
There's no new tricks out there.
He's just out here like, okay, I see what God is doing in your life. How can I manipulate that?
Let me twist the truth a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
I went through that. I feel like my first, as a freshman, I think towards the second semester, I really was struggling with that because it was like, I just felt myself pulling back away from people.
Yeah.
There's just a lot going on, and I'm like, bro, like, I don't want to be a part of it.
I can do without you.
Like, I'm going to go to my room.
Yep.
And it kind of became a joke a little bit because people would be like, man, I haven't seen you in so long. I mean, like, I'm around. I just would escape.
Yep.
And part of me would tell myself that it's like, okay, yeah, you just need a break, need a little long time. It's cool. But then I realized, I was like, I think this is starting to hurt relationships that I have in a subtle way that I didn't realize. But, yeah, it's just kind of a little twist of truth.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Jesus did it. He pulled away. But you notice what Jesus did in the moments of pulling away.
Yeah.
He rested. He prayed. He was looking up with his creator to be able to deal with people in relationships and the agony of like the earth. Like I have to be with the creator to deal with people. Like, so your energy can get depleted, but if you're pulling away and you are detaching, just make sure, what are you doing whenever you detach? Are you spending that time you need to be filled up so you can be poured out?
And you'll know if you're pulling away for like rest and refilling reasons.
Oh, yes.
Or if you're pulling away because they're like, I'm tired.
Yeah.
You guys are good.
I'm tired.
I mean, you can sleep and not get any rest.
Absolutely.
We just had, who did I just say this to? I said this to a teacher at school. She's like, you said like, just because I'm getting sleep doesn't mean I'm getting rest. She's like, I've not stopped thinking about that for the past like week. And
now she's not sleeping because of you.
She's getting less. I think it helped her. I hope it helped her. She just told me that. She's like, I really have but she's been more intentional. She's a mom of 3. So she's like, I've been really intentional about trying to get rest and not just like, my kids are good. Let me just lay down and just like go to sleep. She's not trying to like really, I was like, well, that's great. I said,
because rest isn't always going to sleep. Like for me, sometimes like people like, why do you have so many fish tanks? Because
I like to rest.
I get to go to a place where my mind can rest.
Yeah.
You know, and
these fish tanks, y'all, they're not on camera, but they're
not on camera.
That's cool that I found that out about you today.
Yeah. It's just my mental rest place where I can just like enjoy. To me, it's just amazing. Like God created these things that can live in water and can swim around and breathe and all.
If I try to do that, I'm dead.
If I do it, I'm gone. If I put my head in a bucket, it's over.
I can hold my breath for 10 seconds. Max.
I mean, call the ambulance.
I'm falling. Got that little sticker. Keep this bucket away from toddlers. That's me. If I fall in that thing, it's over. I'm just gonna panic instantly. Like I'm drowning. Just lift your head. I can't. I'm stuck. But yeah, I mean, it's the place where I can go and rest mentally, and just take care of my fish. Not really like there's nothing I got to think about. There's no problem I got to solve. You know, it's just like I'm resting.
Yeah,
you know, and I'm wide awake, but my mind feels so much better when I take those moments.
Yeah, and
it's different for everybody. Everybody's got to find their thing. It hasn't always been fish keeping for me.
Yeah,
it's just probably 6-7 years I've been back into it. My dad had a tank when I was a little kid, and then he stopped doing it, and so the tank just kind of sat in the storage. And one day I filled it up. I was like, "Oh, this isn't leaking," and started keeping fish. I had like 2 tanks when I was with my parents. Then when I moved out, I kept those 2, but then all my kids were little, so it was like in a corner behind a big chair, so they couldn't get to it.
Reach in.
Yeah, reach in or knock it over or whatever. So it's always kind of just been those 2 tanks, and then we moved and blah, 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 blah. And so when we came back to living here in Murfreesboro, and we had a house. We were renting it, but the landlord was like, "It's fine. We were on a concrete slab." So that's when I kind of started picking it back up again, and so now I have my own house and it's an aquarium and it's fine.
Yeah.
Own house.
Yeah,
I think you should take out one of these walls and just replace it with one big tank.
I've thought about
Maybe
it.
get like a few hammerhead
I think I'm
sharks.
just gonna take the garage out
Yeah.
and just turn it into a
Or
tank.
just turn this wall just into like a aquarium. Like,
Oh, yeah.
look through. Like,
100%.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, we know the guys.
I'll put that.
Yeah, tank.
I'll be in
call
there
them
with
up.
my little scuba suit.
Not the scuba suit.
Oh,
My
man.
scuba suit.
That'll be terrifying.
Man, we don't want to see you in that
Well,
tight
nobody
scuba
wants to see that.
scoop.
I don't even want to see that,
Scuba scoop.
so it's fine.
Scuba.
Scuba doo.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you got to have those places to rest.
Yeah.
You know, and like I said, it's different for everybody, man. Some people like to go for walks. You know, I know some guys that like to go fishing, and that's their resting place. Some people like to just listen to music. Some people like to read.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But everybody has to find that thing. Maybe it's crafting. It can't just be like something that is just like busy work.
Yeah.
Like it's got to be a thing that you just do. And again, man, like I'm not putting a lot of thought into it. I'm resting my mind
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and just enjoying whatever it is I'm doing. Like there's no pressure of like if you like to paint, like Kaylee likes to paint. She's
Yeah.
not an artist, but she likes to paint, and it's a thing that she can do to just kind of rest her mind.
Mm-hmm.
And she'll show us stuff. I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
For someone who has no training or anything, but is it going in a museum? No. And she doesn't care. It's just
Yeah.
something to rest her mind.
Yeah. I think you're saying it rest your mind.
Yes.
And I think with that too, sometimes those things, whatever hobby they may be, or
Yeah.
whatever thing you enjoy, is a great time for you to have a moment with the Lord.
Yes.
I think God will really show, like with me just having my little time to kind of look at the clouds,
Mhm.
cloud watch, or look at the sky, look at the sunset, something like that.
Yeah.
It reveals to me something about God
Mm-hmm.
in that time, and it is true rest because He is involved.
Right.
You know,
Yes.
because it's like we could have those things, and they will give us rest. Like it is very healthy and good for
Mhm.
us to have those. But you know, it can also be. I guess there could be a little bit of a difference between, like we said earlier, rest and escape.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
So you can keep escaping, but
Yeah.
you'll have to come back. And
It's that Colossians 3 mindset, like set your heart and your mind on the things above.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if you're resting, that's kind of what you should be doing. It's like doing exactly that.
Yeah.
So whether that's whatever you're doing, just put God in it to make sure that
Yeah.
you're getting that source of energy.
Yep.
You had said something earlier, kind of back on the looking up thing,
Mhm.
and it reminded me of a story maybe you guys have heard me tell before. I think I've maybe told it at FWC in like
Possibly. I don't
a
know.
Wednesday night sermon, but it was practically this experience I had when I first got to Trevecca, and I went with some friends and we walked through the streets of Nashville.
Oh,
Like,
yes.
bro, you already know how it is.
Oh yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yes.
Already know.
Especially at night.
But we were just like, we're just gonna take a little walk, you
Yeah.
know. But we're going down Broadway and stuff like that, and I don't know, the Lord just really started speaking to me.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was just because I was amidst of all of these people, but it just kind of felt like He was right beside me. And as I'm walking through these streets, like, I kind of just, Lord gives me some discernment, and like I can see what people are struggling with,
Mm-hmm.
and it really had a weight on my heart, and it really was a cry, kind of like felt like a Jeremiah's cry in a way, like biblically, and just ironic that my name is Jeremiah too. But
or maybe not ironic.
Yeah, maybe not. I think it's intentional that I was named Jeremiah. But towards the end of that, the Lord was really giving me a vision, and I cried for days about this. But practically what it was I just kind of saw from like an outside perspective, kind of looking down on the streets, and it was like a moment, a split second, where everyone's gaze was pointed upwards.
Mm-hmm.
And all the distractions, all the things that they were struggling with, all the sin and stuff like that, all that stopped for a moment, and everyone was looking up because God had finally grabbed their attention.
Yeah,
and that was a cry for me because in some ways it was like it's too late for a lot of people. When God finally grabs people's attention fully, he's like, hey.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, everyone was so caught up on the small things down low. And then with that too, it's like, that was just a reminder that I hadn't thought about in a while. But with like looking down and being focused on like our sin and things like that, I think the more we look down, the more we're likely to fall again.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, yeah, if we're focusing on the sins and the struggles that we have, I feel like even though we're thinking about it so much and probably wrestling with it, if we're focusing on that more than like, I mean, God in that sense,
right?
It's almost like we find ourselves in a place of shame where it's like,
yeah,
I don't deserve anything. Might as well do it again.
Yeah.
You know,
and that becomes part of our identity. It's hard to break that.
Yes.
It just feels like there's an inclination to shy away from being holy because you already know you're not holy.
Yeah.
Even though God calls us to.
Yeah. We feel like it's an unattainable thing.
Right? Yeah.
And some people have advertised it as an unattainable thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so it gets to the place where, okay, am I going to believe what the word says, or am I going to believe what people say?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you're going back and forth between those. And so I was taking some notes as you were talking. Attention grabbing. So this is one of the things that we talk about in our men's groups is getting guys to slow down long enough to see God.
Mm.
And it's because of what we're talking about. They're looking down. They're looking down at the things they got to do. I got to get work done. I got to get bills paid. I got to get this fixed. I got to do that. And they've got this list that they're looking down at like, man, I got to get through all this. And God's like, man, I just want to help you get through that way easier. If you just take time and look at me first.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I can give you some tips. I can give you some shortcuts. I can tell you, hey, don't even worry about this because I'm taking care of this. Don't waste your energy.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just
quid pro quo. God gave it to us in the first place. It's because of our mistake in the garden that we have to hold the ground.
Yes.
So work is important, but remember that you have your work because of God giving you it in the first place. So let him help with it.
Absolutely.
Let him help you prioritize.
Yes. And so it's one of those things. It's like, man, if we can just stop long enough, and that's our goal with our men's groups is get guys to stop. Because when you see him and you see him working and moving in you and around you and in the guys around you, man, it does something different to you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's just like, I always tell guys that are like, well, I don't know. I was like, when you get in that room, you'll understand.
Mm-hmm.
And every guy that has come to a group, when they sit in that room, they understand. Am I lying, Blake?
Mm-mm.
It's been every single time.
Yeah.
There hasn't been like, well, you know, I don't know about this. No, it's just like, yeah, this is what I've been missing.
Yeah. And me being a single guy too, like whenever the guys are like dads and they have kids, they have things they have to do to wrangle like their families and stuff. It's nice to be in a setting where they can just kind of be themselves. Like with Jason, I never get to talk to Jason on Sundays because he does a lot. But when we're in group, I get to like actually talk to him, like have some relationship with him.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome. That we can say hey to each other on Wednesdays whenever I see him, like with the kids and stuff.
Yes.
So it's a beautiful thing, I think.
It's amazing, man. It is amazing. And it goes back again to looking out around us.
Yeah.
And also being concerned about the people around us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of this, it's cyclical. Like it has its purpose and it has a flow for a reason. And God designed it that way. That's why he says, go make disciples.
Yeah.
It's one of the top things we're supposed to be doing. What does that mean? It basically means go build a relationship with people, walk through life with people, and help them see me in that journey.
Mm-hmm.
That's essentially what discipleship is, right? And so if we're never ever looking up for instructions from him, and if we're never ever looking up for people that God is like, hey, I need you to talk to that person. I need you to reach out to that person. And we're only worried about our own steps. We miss all those things. You know, I try to be, and God has had to make me this way because I was not this way. But I had to be in this mindset of when I come to church, I am looking for opportunities to encourage someone, whether it's a handshake,
that's good,
a hug, a hey, how you doing? Haven't seen you in a while. How's things going? You know, whatever it is, you know, and some situations have really just blown my mind because it's just like in that moment they were going through something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they just needed someone to talk to.
Yeah.
They're going through something no one was seeing them.
Yeah.
And just
And so I try every Sunday to go in with that mindset, not of like, well, they better sing my song, and I hope the message is good, because if it's not, blah blah blah. Like, no, I come into that place like, okay, God, I'm also on assignment.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to get more people to think that way, because when we think that way, we can take care of each other.
Right.
Yeah.
But if I don't think that way, I just come to church to consume.
Every time.
I'd be disappointed every single time.
Yeah.
Like, man, this doesn't what I
Amazing
wanted.
Grace, I'm out.
I'm gone.
I'm out.
Forget this church.
Is trash.
Yes. It's like, no, you are also here to minister to people.
Yeah.
Not just the pastor, so it's all in our perspective, what we're looking at, what we're looking for. It's very important.
Absolutely.
Very important. And I remember that story. And I just thought about, because you were saying you could just see everybody struggle in that moment.
Yeah.
And
that was pretty crazy.
That's wild. But just you have a snapshot of that. Just imagine what God sees all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, in my mind, that's overwhelming.
It felt like it was like written over their foreheads.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like literally just like the big sins. Like, you got like lust or pride.
Yeah.
Or just things like that.
Yeah.
And seeing that was just powerful, it'll shake up your soul a little bit.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's like, okay, God, like you're showing me something right now, but
I
like,
understand.
whoa.
You're freaking me out a little bit. That's fine.
I remember the story because you wanted to go hang out in Nashville, and I'm like,
Yeah, I haven't been. I don't think I've been back to Nashville.
I'm like, oh yeah, we can definitely do that.
Or the streets.
Detached. Detached.
We're no longer friends. Blocked on Facebook.
Right. Yeah. I'll go if I have to. But asked me to casually hang out in Nashville. I'm like,
right.
Nah, I gotta see. Just say no. Just say no. Nah, I gotta see.
I gotta see. I'll check back. That's awesome, man.
Something you had said, I don't know exactly what, but it really had me thinking about this concept, or I guess kind of like what you were talking about, serving in the church, like the pastor isn't the only one there.
Yeah.
Who is, spread the gospel, support someone. Well, I was just thinking about the fact of like, when we're so focused on like looking down and stuff, there's just a priority of, serving ourselves.
Yes.
Like we know, like every human, like every person, we struggle with the selfish nature. Since we are born, we think about ourselves. And I think the most difficult thing, like you were talking about with the men's group, about having to slow down and doing all those things, it's like when we are trying to serve ourselves and trying to think of, okay, how is God going to play into my life? We're never fully satisfied ourselves.
Never.
So that's why we get burnt out.
Yep.
But in thinking of the way of God is the one who is over all creation, and he's writing out this story of new heaven and new earth. And he's inviting us with our submission unto him of being a part of that creation, like here on earth, like we get to be co-creators with him in a way. Well, with that freedom of like in getting to honor God and please God, like he sets it out for us through the word. And that is something that is attainable.
Yes.
And just kind of playing into that. And I think that goes with the whole metaphor of looking up. And it takes the focus away from ourselves. And I think that's how he designed us, like, to have freedom, you know? Like, it's kind of a crazy concept, but it's like, yeah, we get that freedom in submission, you know?
Yes.
Kind of, we get freedom in servanthood. Which, I mean, I guess if we're talking about, like, everything biblically, that's very countercultural.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. But it's the beauty of it.
Yes.
Yeah. You said he's writing the story, so I wonder how much of, if we're feeling tired, are we trying to take the pen instead of like using the pen he's given us to like help him co-create? Are we trying to like take what he's like, just borrow your pen?
Man, preach to me right now, Blake.
Like, I'm telling you, it's just like that's the visual I see. So, like God's writing the story, but people are just always like, he has to be like, you have your pen, like you have your own pen. I'm giving you this. Like,
I'm writing an add-on, Lord. Don't worry about it.
Another gospel. It's called the Book of Mormon.
I say this a lot, but like, God is the greatest story writer there is.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Like, if you just look at all of history and just all of the Bible and where we're going,
Yeah.
it's the basis of like good story writing. I mean, I think
Yes.
I heard this from a video, or maybe I've read it, but it was like so many of our just kind of, I guess, methods of how stories go in movies and in books and things like that. Like, they came from like they started off with like short stories and Shakespeare and stuff like that, but then a lot of the ways those stories unfolded came from the Bible too.
Yeah, it's the truth.
And it's like the origin of the way that we tell stories and so much stuff coming from God in that way is so interesting. So it's like, yeah, when we try to become the story writers, yeah, dude, we can't compare.
No.
There's nothing there to say.
Yeah, we fail.
No. This is why light always overcomes darkness.
For real.
In movies.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about like, oh, why does the hero
if it didn't in part one, watch part two. No?
Part two. It's coming. Yeah. Yeah, it's just, we spend so much time trying to be something original.
Yeah.
As a culture, as generations come along, that we are forgetting our origin story. And it's all the same.
Yeah.
We all have the same Father. All of us.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what age you are. And he's given us all the same instructions. He's asked us to do all the same things. Different versions of it, but essentially the same command is love people, make disciples, all those things. But we're trying to rewrite what God has told us to do.
Yeah.
And we try to make up things and add things, and just like, where did you come up with this? And you're asking these questions. You're like, but the Bible says this. I even, Pastor Sam, our youth pastor, he's been on the book of Acts, and becoming back to this Acts church.
Yeah.
And when he had mentioned it to me, I was like, dude, the Lord has literally been telling me this exact same thing for months. He's like, I need people to get back to loving each other, caring for each other, like they did in the Acts church.
Yeah.
And like, oh, I'm not giving, like, nobody's asking you to give your stuff away. I'm not asking you to go sell land and build a bunch of tiny houses.
Sell everything.
Give us your firstborn.
No.
No one said that. Like, where
like,
are you hearing
give
that?
Us your
right.
firstborn.
Yeah, we're not doing any of that. But what we are is learning.
Any of that.
We're learning to take care of each other.
Yeah.
We're learning to spend time together.
Yeah.
And just understand, like, we need each other.
Yeah.
And the word says, even more so as we see the day approaching, we should not be forsaking gathering together. And so when we understand that mindset, again, I stop looking at myself, I stop looking down, and I start looking out like, okay, where's my community? Where's my Acts church community? That we're going to bond together, we're going to spend time together, we're going to go through this stuff together. When it's good, when it's bad, when I want to punch Blake, when Blake wants to punch me, doesn't matter. We're still together.
Yeah, Blake's very punchable.
And
just playing.
Blake has a mean
He's
uppercut.
the opposite of that.
To you. No, I'm playing. Some people won't punch you. Some of my kids probably.
That's cool.
Like, yeah, I'm just kidding.
About to end your child. You get this job.
So you can't beat me up. Say what you want. You can't beat me up.
I'm a grown man. Come for me. But yeah, man, it's all of those different things of, man, understanding, like, man, if we just follow what God has already laid out, it's way simpler.
It is. It'll save your energy.
It's way simpler. Instead of adding these goals and these targets that we're trying to reach, and we got to do this and we got to, like, where does it say that?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm very much, I'm a task person. I'm not a big picture person.
Yep.
And I've had to really accept that about myself. Like, I really have a hard time seeing the big picture, but give me like a task list and I'll knock off the task, whatever you need to do, I'll knock that off. But I feel like I can get lost in that. I can get lost in that.
Yes.
Completing this task, completing that, going to the next. So I'm getting to the big picture, but if you don't take time to stop in the details and kind of just look at the big picture, it's like you're going to get lost in that mundane stuff. So
Absolutely.
you have to take time and stop.
I would say with that too, it's so beautiful and perfect because it's like we don't have to write the big picture.
Correct.
Like he set out the big picture
Yes.
in front of us.
Yep.
So that's something that we can all contribute something
Yes.
towards. And I mean, like you said, with like the picking up the pen type of deal, it's like, yeah, when we do that, it always ends up not being how things are supposed to be.
Yep.
It always ends up being messed up.
Yep.
But with that whole kind of metaphor too, it's like with every writer, they have a certain sense of diction, a certain style.
Mm-hmm.
And with God being the writer of the universe, we get to see that and we get to admire that. And it's like, as we learn more about who he is,
Mm-hmm.
and the type of God that he is, and loving in an unconditional way, it really just, it opens the door for us to, I guess, necessarily just really read the story that he's writing out.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it helps you understand the story.
Yeah.
Like, I love what you said there. He has his own writing style. And so as you begin to learn who God is, it makes it really easy to identify what God is saying in my life and what God is not saying.
That's good.
Because when I understand the author and what he said and how he says it and what he expects, I realize I probably wrote that chapter and I need to ball that up and throw it in the trash. And I need to get back on course.
Yeah.
For God's writing on
right?
it.
Yeah, like, oh, this is not red letter. I'm sorry, Lord. Forgive me. I have written my own chapter. Man, and sometimes those chapters are rough to get back from.
Yeah.
Depending on how long you hold on to that pen and that story that you're writing for yourself, the journey back can be very, very taxing for some people. Depending on how far off of that you get.
Does this character have any redeeming qualities?
Right.
So let's see. Stay tuned.
Right. Stay tuned. We're going to see if we can get this one back. We're not sure yet.
Yeah, I'm ready for the Bible
Character
part 2.
development.
Yeah.
The Bible 2.
Yeah.
Is that
The sequel. Yeah, it's there's so much to this journey, but it's also very simple.
Yeah. I think with that too, it's really cool because it's like, when you're watching a movie or reading a story or something, and you can kind of assume what's going to happen next. Yeah. You just get a feel of it. No,
I do sometimes. I'm very present. I'm telling you, like, I'm like, I'll get like, I'm like, I didn't see that coming. It can be like obvious. I'm like,
well, yeah, there's some plot twists. Like Jesus came back. He came back. What?
I thought they killed him off.
And then he's coming back later.
This is crazy. But like, with that, I think as we get to know more about God and about who he is and the story of recreation that he's writing out, we get a little discernment of not only what comes next, but where God needs us next. We can kind of see ahead of like just what he's showing us, what's next in our life and what we need to do. I mean, this podcast, even for example, was something that God had laid onto your heart that he was kind of putting in front of you just because you got to know him and know what he needed from you more. Yeah. So
it was definitely a challenge, but again, like I kind of said before, you kind of start to recognize the author and his style and just like, okay, so this is you. Yeah. Okay. But can we talk about it? I mean, it's like, not really.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll circle back around to it, but we're not really going to talk about it.
Maybe.
I've already told you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not always easy to find out either. No. Jesus spoke in parables, man. Leaving people like.
He definitely. People are like, what?
Yeah.
But the awesome thing is he would take his disciples or his team, whatever, and he would break things down for them.
Yeah.
In a way that he wouldn't for the masses.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that just speaks of the closeness. Like, the closer I get to God and understanding him and recognizing him, the more he breaks things down for me.
Yeah.
And it's just like things that, like, we've all done it. We'll read verses and different things, and it's like, I've read this verse 100 times, and it's never been this clear to me before.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah,
and it's just good. Because as my relationship grows with him, he can now open up the text.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like there's the Bible, and then there's the Bible in 4D. Right? And it's just like, now as I start reading through stuff, it's like the Bible in 4D, and I'm like, what? This was here this whole time? Like,
4D stands for Dewan.
Yes. Yes. The Bible for Dewan.
Finally, glad you're here. I've been here this whole time.
We've clarified it.
Dewan, he just got here.
Is that the new translation you're writing, or?
Oh no, I'm not touching a pen.
There's no
I'm talking.
pen.
I'm not touching a pen. No, sir.
Yeah.
No. But yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, I guess we're gonna get out of here. I don't know how long we've been on.
It's all right.
I
Do
feel
you
like
have
we
your
need
Bible
to-
verse, your Philippians verse?
Yes, we did not.
Close us
Yeah,
out. Close us out, bro.
Close us out with the word, man.
Well-
before we get out of here.
Man, we always need a little bit of word.
That's her.
A lot of bit of word.
You didn't write this yourself, did you?
I didn't.
Please tell me.
Oh,
It's in mine, so I hope you did.
So I use this verse in the sermon of just kind of like in thinking about looking down versus looking up.
Right.
It's like, how do we respond to, all the things that are down?
Mm-hmm.
How do we respond to that posture of life that it can be easy to fall into?
Right.
And I guess I have a few quick points with this, but the verse that I really thought was powerful in this way is Philippians 4:8-9, where it says, "And now, dear brothers and sisters, one final thing. Fix your thoughts on what is true, honorable, and right, and pure, and lovely, and admirable. Think about the things that are excellent and worthy of praise. Keep putting into practice all you learned and received from me, everything you heard from me and saw me doing. Then the God of peace will be with you."
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that speaks a lot
Yeah.
about what we should focus on and about how that brings us peace.
Yep.
But also how we have to work and keep it in
Yes.
practice.
Yes, it is work.
Mm.
You know,
And
he offers a lot of things freely, but he also says to pick up all these things that I'm offering to you. You got to do work.
yeah. And you said, was it a verse just not long after that?
13.
13.
I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Yeah.
Because you won't be able to see that if you're not doing what those other verses say. If you're not picking it up.
Yeah.
Because then I'm doing this on my own. I'm doing this by myself.
Yeah.
It's just so overwhelming. But
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I mean, the whole point of that sermon was about the joy of the Lord being our strength.
Absolutely.
And it's like, if we can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, we need to have that joy of the Lord, the Spirit, the fruit of the Spirit of God. And it's like, if we are to get this joy amidst these times of struggle, like, we have to find a reason,
Yeah.
right? We can't just force it. And our reason is not only all the blessings that God has given us and all the things that we can give thanks to, but just going back to the basics. God gives us a reason with the gospel.
Yeah.
Yep. With Jesus staying on the cross, it's like, and him coming back again, defeating death, and bringing that life unto us. It's like, no matter what we're going through, we can look to that, and if we really believe it, we're like, man, things are gonna be all right.
yeah.
Big picture wise, we're gonna be chilling. We're gonna make it.
Right.
Yes.
So yeah.
Absolutely. That's
Yes,
awesome, man.
Jeremiah.
You know, you talk about strength. I know we said we're ending, but whatever. We do what we want to do around here.
Obviously.
You talk about the joy of the Lord being our strength, right? Like, it can also be one of those things where, man, that should be an immediate red flag for you. If you're doing ministry, kingdom work, and the joy is gone,
Man, get out. Go ahead.
you're not plugged into the Father anymore.
Yeah.
You're just doing something, right?
Yeah.
And then there's been times, man, on this journey, I've had to stop and be like, you know what?
Yeah.
I have no joy doing this.
Man.
And I realize I've gotten too far from him.
Yeah.
I've created too much space between me and him.
Take
And
a
it's
moment.
just-
Take a moment to
Yeah.
just kind of get with him.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it just becomes me trying to do something in my own power.
Yeah.
And that never goes
It's a
anywhere
waste
for
of
long.
time, bro.
It goes nowhere for very
The
long.
spiritual things is a waste of time.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, man, you guys got anything else?
No, bro.
I feel like we're like a pastor with two closings. Like, I'm about to close.
I
I'm down,
promise
definitely,
we're gonna
definitely.
get you out to lunch here
Yeah.
soon.
And then 15 minutes later, all right, I'm about to close. Going
I'm
to hit the organ.
Almost there.
Black church.
Yes.
Wouldn't have been anything. I'm just kidding.
Nothing beats it. Nothing beats it. 4 or 5 closings before you actually get out
Man.
of there.
Close my Christianity.
Yes.
I'm out of here. Like, bro.
I'm hungry, Pastor. We
Oh
got to
my
go.
gosh.
I've been here early. I need breakfast. I got to go.
Man.
No, but I appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
It's been
Jeremiah
awesome.
Carlton, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
Man, thank
It
you all
is-
for having me.
has
I
been
appreciate
great.
it.
Definitely got to have you come back
Enjoy
again and talk some more about whatever. whatever God is revealing to you in that season when we circle back around. But I have enjoyed it.
It's been great.
I'm sure Blake has enjoyed it as well.
Most.
So that is it. We will see y'all in the next episode. Peace out.
Thanks, y'all.
Peace.